Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to the first episode of the Solforge Showdown. Now this is going to be a series where me and my guest for this week and possibly permanent fixture but not quite sure, Hectares, we'll get to him a little later, play a couple of decks against each other which we got from a tournament or something like the Forge, or maybe just pretty much anything publicized. In this case it's two decks from the Unheroic qualifier for the Kale Cup that happened on Saturday. Now, Unheroic in general, the reason why we picked it as the first episode is because this YouTube channel is largely Hearthstone focused, and Unheroic is a format you can actually get into within about a week and a half to 2 weeks just by doing dailies. Pretty much everything is very, very cheap at common and rare for crafting in terms of silver. So you can just get into the game quickly, take part in any of the events that happen on Kale's Ladder, which I'll link in the description. And it's a good format to start in, and for me, I just enjoy playing the format. Maybe that's because I'm too used to playing with, actual cards in Standard. But anyway, so this week I'll be playing with Tabeluga's Necrim Utera Proto deck, and Hectares will be playing with Technonauts AT Rules deck. Why don't you introduce yourself, Hect?
Hey guys, hectares. I play some Solforge on my stream and do a little bit of writing over at Cox's Socks.
Yeah, I'll put that one in the description as well. Maybe I'll remember all of them, but I'm no doubt going to get a comment saying you forgot this, because that's what usually happens. But anyway, so without further ado, let's get on to the actual decks, shall we?
Sounds good.
Now, the first one that we're going to be going over is the deck I'm going to be playing. Now this is it was named Proto, I guess, but this deck is one of the newer aggressive Necrim Utera decks, which doesn't run Shapers. I've been running a lot of Shapers recently. I think it's pretty good. It's the deck I got into the Kale Cup with, and Hector also got into the Kale Cup with a Shaper deck, if I recall correctly.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's Dark Shapers. Good cards. But anyway, this deck has completely foregone Shapers, just period. And the reason for it is because you really aim to win in player level 2 to 3, from what I can tell. Everything in this deck either hits very, very hard or just wins the game when equipped with a leveled Seal of Deepwood, also known as Seal of Win to some people, or Skill Wood, or a number of names that you never really want to hear. So yeah, the card is insane at level 2 and 3. At level 1 it's really, really slow. That's the reason it doesn't see too much standard play. But in a slower format like this, where things don't really hit very hard at level 1, you can get away with it, especially in a deck this aggressive. Any comments?
Well, you do have just some very powerful spells that can reverse the board, put a lot of pressure on immediately, and alternatively, for a sort of mirror match, 2 for 1 your opponent in the case of Spirit Cleave. So there's really good flexibility with that, as well as 6 of the bound cycle, which looks to be very effective as you may hit some underlevel plays in PL2.
I mean, you could say effectively 9 of the bound cycle, really, because Dire Hound is just the flat best overload card. There's also Lysian Shard in this deck as well. There's a lot of good underdrop cards in this deck.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say most of the deck is a good underdrop. The only mandatory levels are Batterhide and against certain decks, Spirit Cleave. And besides that, Shimmerfang Serpent's effect works with any pump spell. There are both of the Zithian cards, Direhound and Rotfiend, are very good underdrops, but can also apply pressure. Swamp Moss, same, and the Ebonbound Warlord and Shardbound Invoker are completely insane at 2, 3, and 4 if they're 1 level under. So this deck is incredibly consistent for an aggressive deck.
Yeah, I have nicknamed this NU consistent. Proto is probably prototype of being the most consistent deck for the format. We'll have to see about that.
It was the most common deck in the top. I mean, it was technically top 5 because one of the guys in the top 4 already had an invite, so he dropped. So NU was 4 out of 5 of them, including me, and I came 5th, and because he dropped, so I got bumped to top 4. And then there was the one, the only Technonaut who decided, you know what, let's get involved in the Kettle Cup, so let's run what I think is the best deck, well, from his point of view at least. 80 Walls, as I'll just bring it up on screen here.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a different approach to how to interact with other players. Instead of going on the aggressive and saying, look, I'll put all the pressure on and I'll win by making you get 2-for-1, force yourself into 2-for-1ing. Now I'll play a big dude, block you, clog the lane, make your next play worse, and keep the pressure on, but only in terms of basically a clock, rather than letting you run your game plan. I'll just build up my strongest leveled defenders and hit you with the jetpack late game.
Yeah, I think this deck also has a similar thing to the previous deck, although not quite as extreme, which is it's very, very consistent in the mid game, partly because it has Cinderbound Barbarian and Burnout, although unfortunately the problem with playing a Loyan in any format right now, not just Unheroic, although it applies least to Unheroic I'd say, is you can't use the underdrops. You just can't. The Ironbound Reinforcements is a decent card, but when compared to the other ones is just mediocre. And the other one, the Meta Sight Overload card that I can't even remember the name of because I don't think I've ever played it.
Perilous Insight.
Yeah. Well, I mean that shows how much of an impact that card had on me, right?
I played it once.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. However, playing a Loyan gives you a couple options. The first one is it gives you 3 giant defenders. Citadel Guard, which becomes absolutely huge at level 3, although I'd say level 2 is its weakest. But
yeah, 12, 13.
Yeah, Rot Fiend is
still good.
Yeah, it's still good, but 3 is the reason you actually play it, I would say. Then you've got not Citadel Colossus, Crucible Colossus, which loses Defender when you rank up, so it can actually be an offensive threat on its own. And Alpha, which is just fairly large at all levels. And that's the Loyan stuff. The other thing Loyan gives you is Jetpack along with Instigator as ways of removing Defender. And the ability to trigger Allied on Battlebrand, which I thought was a nifty thing, and then I realized it's actually necessary because you're running cards like Cinder Colossus.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the other thing is, depending on the matchup you're in, Flamewurf Instigator either hits the board, at every opportunity or just occasionally. So there's a little bit of flexibility in how aggressive you get, even though you're running a Walls deck.
Yeah, this deck, one of the things that's good about it is that all of the cards are the same. And I don't exactly mean that, but Battlebrand and Burnout, very comparable, along with Cinderbound Barbarian in terms of the burn. But then, in terms of your threats, you've got Cinder Colossus, Alpha, and then Crucible Colossus and Citadel Guard. At level 3, besides Crucible Colossus, I keep trying to call it Citadel Colossus. I can't even call it Colossus because there's a Cinder Colossus. That's just annoying. Anyway, Mr. Crucible is actually just a threat on his own, but the other 3 defenders at level 3 are very, very similar to each other.
Yeah.
Very, very little difference. So you're just trying to stick a defender and then get an opportunity to just hit him in the face with an Instigator, Trigger, or Jetpack. And I think that's about it in terms of the AT Wall deck. The only other thing, which keep in mind, this is exact lists from what they were played. The 2 of Glacial Crush.
Yep, and this is sort of like the Spirit Cleave in the other deck. If you happen to run up against somebody else with the same strategy, the Glacial Crush is going to handle them, and that's plain and simple what's going to happen with that side of the deck.
Maybe you could try, there's a Uranti Bolt here. Maybe you could try an Ice Mage instead, because it forces them to divert attention from your defenders, so you can just trigger them. Maybe. I'm not sure.
It definitely is interesting tech that Technonaut put in there, but I can see why he might want the Uranti Bolt instead of Ice Mage. Ice Mage takes that extra turn to activate, whereas Uranti Bolt can be
instant.
That if you happen to have leveled a Crush and then they decide not to play more defenders, or they just don't have any defenders on board, you could get that Crush out there. You can turn a level 1 Uranti Bolt into a free level 2 or level 3 removal card, which
Yeah.
could be pretty good value.
Also, you can level it with Battle Brand, and a level 3 your antidote will completely annihilate anything it hits mostly.
Yeah, there's some interesting plays if you have leveled it with Battle Brand, for, as you said, and as well as if you just are able to, yeah, just you keep some flexibility with Battle Brand, and you keep some flexibility by having the Uranti Bolt to pair with the Crush. So.
It's a good card. I think a lot of people underestimate your anti-bolt. One thing I might explore is in this deck, I think 1 is correct, but in some other decks that are trying to be a bit more aggressive with AT, maybe some sort of mobility or just aggro deck, Bolt has got a habit of being leveled by Battle Brand and then just completely destroying any threat you can't kill, and also giving Defender to seal targets.
Yeah.
So I think it's an underestimated card, but in this deck I do agree that 1 is the correct number. But anyway, anything else?
No, that sums up that list and more. We really dug in with the walls.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about the wall deck. It's a pretty unique list, I'd say. Anyway, so we'll move on to the actual game. We've got one set up here. As I'll just bring up Hect's hand with the magical thing. Alright, so this hand is interesting. There's a couple things I could do here. The first one is discarding Seal. Normally, if I'm going first and this hand was given to me in most decks, I think I would consider discarding Seal. However, because this deck is very aggressive, I think I'm gonna have to start with the Shimmerfang Serpent instead. Maybe I should have played it in 2 or 4. I don't want to play it in 1. I don't want to play it in 1 particularly, and I don't think I should play it on the side because Zombie Titan is a possibility.
I'm gonna get you with my Zombie Titan. Ah!
Random Zombie Titan.
Yeah, you do have to be aware of that lane 1 and 5 now, because of, especially in an unheroic format. But I have some interesting counters to that Shimmerfang Serpent, and now I'm already starting to think about Seal of Deepwood. Just from that first play, that's one of those cards that you start to plan around as soon as you see Utera, and even if you're on the play, you might start to plan around it being as part of your opponent's game plan, just in case, as it is one of the most popular plays in the lower rarities.
I agree.
So I have the opportunity to go full removal of that Shimmerfang, and I've got a Jetpack to work with on in terms of actually triggering the Battle Brand free level. So I can level the Cinder Colossus in my hand and actually play out a Flamer Instigator as my second play.
Seems pretty good, because a 7-2 is actually quite good at this level. Later on, I mean, the fact you've seen a Utera card most definitely means that the second pairing is Necreum in general, because there are 2 color combinations at the moment. If you see predominantly Necreum, it can actually be any other color. But if you see Utera, it's almost always paired with Necreum. So now that I've seen both of those, I'm playing around Jetpack, and I don't need to worry about the side lanes anymore. So I'm just going to play 2 consistent creatures. Battlehide becomes very good later on.
So I have a couple options here. I've got a Crucible Colossus, Cinder Colossus, and Flamer Instigator, as well as Burnout to consider. I don't think it's appropriate time to burn out. Battlehide doesn't make any sort of threat at the moment. You could certainly buff them to be larger potentially, but the odds of that happening seem low to me. So what I'll do right now is take a more aggressive approach. I think I'll be able to handle Battlehid's next turn when they've become active, and I'll just play out Crucible Colossus and actually turn it on immediately with Flamer Instigator. Now, Cinder Colossus is a higher value to level, but getting this early start can prevent Jotto from getting his board set up.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I actually have possibly the single best way of dealing with this in my entire deck, so I apologize.
Reap.
Yep. Spirit Cleave and Dire Hound. The rest of that hand was not bad. It was 2 Rot Fiends and a Lurker, but they're just not playable in that situation because Rot Fiend has a disadvantage whenever something appears in front of it. It gets debuffed, so they just die for free.
So similarly, I also have probably my best way of handling your current board in my hand, which is double Battle Brand with a single Alloying card. So just, I do want to level that Alloying card, so I have to be conscious of the order in which I play these Battle Brand, these level ups. So it's got to be Flame Rift Instigator being leveled first, and then Alpha leveled second, but we're able to handle what he's got.
I do find it funny that the last card is a card you just don't want to level ever.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So not missing out at all here. And the board is clear. My hand is nearly empty. That's a pretty nice scene.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, the way I tend to see the bound cards is you should just never level them and then almost aggressively play them into not over level 2s, but pretty much over any other level 1.
Double Swamp Moss Lurker. So
Swamp Moss.
I could go 8-4. I see your 8-4s. Let me raise you an 8-9, or double 8-9. But I'm not sure what the correct placement is. I'm tempted both to block both lanes and as well as to ignore both. But in this case, I'm just going to block both. I think that's what will set me up to get value later, is if these survive combat by chance.
Okay. Now I've got a couple options here. I've got Lysian Shard. I have an underleveled Spirit Cleave, which I may want to get one into the deck because this will most likely go to rank 4. I also have 2 bound cards, which I think are ridiculously important in this matchup. So I may just play 2 bound cards. And his Citadel Guard will be left with none, so I can save my Swamp Moss. And to be honest, playing cards down like that, if he has a Barbarian, it's annoying, but then if he's playing Barbarian, he's not playing extra ways of forcing me to react. So I think saving 1 Swamp Moss here is correct, especially since the other Citadel Guard will die to any number of things in my deck for free. So I'm going to play double bound cards and get rid of one of the Citadel Guards. And with that, an 11-2 is actually really irritating for him if he doesn't have a Barbarian. If he does, this is a blowout, but if he doesn't, this is a really good play for me.
So I have an answer, definitely a good answer for this board, but not sure exactly what I'll choose here. I could level the Crush with Battle Brand, or I could level the Alpha. So I'm tempted to level
Bolt. Bolt could be really important as a removal spell later on.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think what I'm tempted to do here is actually level the Alpha and just keep my my leveled threats ready to go, so that late game I have, if it does stall out for some reason, I have answers going forward. And I think what I'll do is I'm tempted not to block the Lurker and Battle Brand, and that will save damage on the Colossus, and yeah, I'll do that.
Which bound card is the block? Is the interesting question here.
I think the only thing to consider would be that Bound Warlord could get Shard hit and survive combat with Cinder Colossus.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think I'll block 4 and Battle Brand the Lurker and level the Alpha.
Pretty good turn. Pretty good turn.
Yeah, Battle Brand makes for a lot of good turns.
Now, yeah, so I've heard. So at this point, this is interesting because I have a level 2 Lurker in my hand, and I want to position this to the point when Jetpacked becomes just a removal spell or a worse Flame Rift Instigator. So what I think I'm going to do here is get another Invoke down. Most of my creatures are huge, so I'm fine with buffing the Warlord, focusing to shift his attention a little bit, and then just rely on my bigger creatures at this stage of the game. Swamp monsters are also very good to level in this matchup.
So I have a sort of strange hand here, but I think ultimately it's not that big of a deal.
All
I
the
get to
enablers.
I get to turn on the Colossus, Cinder Colossus here with my Flame Roof Instigator, and then I've got a Battle Brand that can level, I guess, a Jetpack, but realistically, it's a little bit disappointing not to have another creature here. That said, 6 attack maybe finishes out the game, and I will make this block on Ebonbound Warlord. So this leaves me with a 12-1 Instigator. It probably dies to something easily, like another Ebonbound, or some kind of other debuff that might be, I can't remember what else.
Direhound.
Direhound. Yeah, Direhound. So that would be fine. You know, wasting the 5/5 buff on a debuff on Instigator would be fine. It's already gotten its full value basically, and we'll burn out or Battle Brand the Lurker, leveling the Jetpack.
So many leveled cards.
Yep. Just working through the deck, one Battle Brand and is 2 leveled cards as well as I don't know, a lot of pressure.
Now, I want to play the Warlord here. I have Lurker, Spirit Cleave. I think leveling Lurker is nice. Leveling Ebonbound is just better, and it's better on the board at the moment because I want as many bound cards in rank 4 as is possible. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll play the Warlord and I'll play Spirit Cleave because Spirit Cleave is going to stall out anything crazy that happens. So I'll play Spirit Cleave, and the Ebonbound, I think I don't block the Citadel Guard because the Citadel Guard is going to die at some point just to some random trigger, and I think that's fine with me, and I'd rather force him to respond to my stuff since a lot of his enablers have low health. So we'll move this over here, punish Jetpack plays. A lot of people don't think about Jetpack when they position against defenders.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just I'm gonna forgo the little bit of damage I can do, the 8 damage, and just leave that Citadel Guard up for maybe the next Flame Roof Instigator I have. But turn on this Alpha, and I'll turn this on Empty Lane, and block the Invoker. I don't have to block this Invoker. I've got health to work with, but I think the only thing I get really punished by is a level 1 Ebonbound Warlord. Otherwise, this is a great trade. Level 2 or higher Ebonbound Warlord. I guess he'd have to have level 1 here.
This is super awkward because I have 2 Batter Hides, but I also have an Ebonbound Warlord. I think what I'm gonna do is I'll level the Warlord, and this is like killing me in terms of how to play this, because the way you're supposed to play this deck is if you see Batter Hide, play Batter Hide, but I didn't level any seals. I didn't get the opportunity. So Batter Hide's power level is significantly diminished. So playing the Ebonbound, that would leave me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that would leave me with 5 level bound cards, which means that if I get to player level 4, I think I just win. I'm actually not even joking. The level 3 versions of these cards are ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're just completely absurd. They're close. They're like essentially the Unheroic versions of Forgeborn. So what I'm going to do here is I'll play around Jetpack, and I'll kill off this Instigator. I'm fine taking 8, but I don't want to take 15 from a Jetpack. Like, taking 11 versus 15 is fine, especially considering it'd be a 1 health creature.
So I have a couple options here. I have a Cinderbound Barbarian. I also have Crucible Colossus Citadel Guard. I'm not gonna take advantage of the under drop here because I do have 2 leveled cards in hand to work with, and they both become relatively large threats next player level. So what I'll do is I'll block the Ebonbound Warlord with the Citadel Guard and Empty Lane the Crucible Colossus because it will become active at the end of this turn.
Okay.
And the Alpha and the Batter Hide trade off theoretically.
Yep. Alright. This is where I need to think about actually getting smashed in the face. Now, what I can do is I have a pretty mediocre hand, but what I think I can do is I can play Invoker, and I know he doesn't have any buffs besides attack-based ones, so I'd rather thin my deck right now, and I'll save my Battle Hype by doing so, which means he has to actually block it with something, or play a Cinderbound, but he only has level 1 Cinderbounds, so playing a Cinderbound is actually really painful for him here, instead of like a level 2, possibly.
Well, that was a pretty strong play. Now I have to take damage on my leveled threats here. So I'm gonna play out the Alpha opposite Batterhide. I know this doesn't have an opportunity to become active, but it's got more health than the Crucible Colossus, and I think it will be the smarter level. And I'll actually just ignore the Shardbound Invoker and clear a lane in 3 with Cinder Colossus. This also sets me up to finish off Shardbound Invoker on my next turn with Cinder Bound Barbarian.
Giant defenders.
Yep.
Okay, so at this point I'm really worried about enablers. I think what I'm going to try and do at this point is clear defenders while keeping mine live, because I know that if he uses a threat enabler, if he uses an instigator, then it will trade with the invoker, so that's not an additional card, and if he uses jetpack, he uses an entire card for it, so I have an opportunity to respond.
Yep. So I'm gonna just slam cards here because I'm just gonna try and win before you get any buffs going. So I'm gonna jetpack this 1 in 3 and swing for 30. And now you have to find a way to answer that card, otherwise it wins before your Batterhide starts hurting me. Basically.
Alright, so this is a problem. A fairly significant problem, actually, you could say. Now, I have to double block this, so I'll block, I could play Invoker, but what I'm going to do is I'll block with a Shimmerfang first, put some poison on it, hope that he doesn't have another enabler that will just actually kill me. And there's a lane open which I can't stop, unfortunately. If he has jetpack, I'm dead. But there's nothing I can do about that. If he has instigator, then this saves me. But if he has jetpack, I'm just dead. I think. Yeah.
Actually do have jetpack. And
okay,
I do have Battle Brand and Burnout, so the opportunity to get that damage through is going to be pretty, what is this, 53? So I'm good to burn out this card and take less damage.
I missed quite heavily in 3 there. I got a Batterhide and missed my Ebonbound Warlords, which I was leveling specifically. So that was it. I think that was a perfect example of how the Defender deck plays.
Yeah.
I think I need to be leveling seals. Like, the first game is always the one where we're kind of testing, is like if you don't know what you're playing against. I think from now I'm just gonna almost discard level seals if I have to, because Seal of Deepwood is how you win against defenders with that deck. Oh, clicked the wrong thing. So I'm gonna have to almost exclusively level seals. As it turns out, it's very, very difficult to kill a giant seal guy.
Alright, next game.
Yep.
I'm on the play here, so I have the opportunity to choose what I want to level. I think I pass the Battle Brand and just go for the Crucible Colossus, which would wake up. I don't think the Alpha is as strong as a play, and my underdrops are not getting played here. And I'll center lane Crucible Colossus. This gives up information that I'm not running something like Battle Tech or Nexus Tech, that kind of thing, but I think it's the right call. Also,
now, my hand is terrible. Just saying. Like, this hand is really, really good going first because I have 2 underdrops, Elysian Shard and a Lurker. But I have a Dizzy Siphon, which I'm just going to use here. And this is actually fine because if he plays Instigator in front of it and I draw Seal, I can level Seal for free. And just save my guy. It also shuts down his Crucible Colossus.
Hmm. So what can I do here? I can play. I have a couple of options. I can play Instigator opposite Lurker and hope that he doesn't debuff it off the board or Dire Hound it, something like that, so I don't have to deal with his um, Swamp Moss Lurker next turn. And then that allows me to Citadel Guard happily. Or I can block with Citadel Guard, but I think the downside to blocking with Citadel Guard is the same as the downside to blocking with Instigator, and just 11 damage. So I might as well just free lane Citadel Guard and have it be an 8/9 on the play on active next turn.
Alright. So, yeah, if you'd done the reverse block, then you'd be taking 11 here, because I have Spirit Cleave. I'll still be playing Spirit Cleave here. Spirit Cleave works on health, so it's good to get Citadel Guards off. Now this hand is terrible again, I didn't draw any buffs. At least I do have a Batter Hide, but it does mean I have to lose my guy, which is annoying. I haven't seen Seal yet. Seal is basically how I win this matchup, so this is where only playing 2 can really hurt you sometimes.
Again, I'm gonna hit your Batter Hide with the Battle Brand. I like how that sound. You know, Batter Hide, Battle Brand, just that nice quality there. But
nice ring to it.
Yeah, it's got a nice ring to it. So I'm just gonna go for it, and then I'll level the Alpha and play the Instigator. I will wake up the Crucible Colossus, though I don't think it is gonna do so much. I could actually level the Cinder Colossus as the smarter level here, and I will do that because it just gets bigger than the Alpha.
It's also smaller at level 1.
And it's for this reason, instead of playing out the Flamer Instigator, it'd be worth considering playing the Alpha. But what I want to do is keep having 7 attack creatures or larger hitting the board and putting some pressure on. It's a close call there.
Now, I've got a Batter Hide, I can also play Swamp Moss, I can play a Shimmer Fang. I also have Dire Hound. Dire Hound and Dizzy and Siphon do exactly the same thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'll play Batter Hide and I'll Dizzy and Siphon. He can still kill it with Battle Brand, but he's already played 1 and he's already seen 3 hands, so chances aren't too high that he has one.
Crucible Colossus wakes up at the end of my turn, and Alpha I think is the card I want to block with, instead of leveling an Instigator here. So I'm just going to play both of these. I could have burned out the Batter Hide, but that doesn't seem necessary by any means. We'll find out if I get punished for that decision.
Alright, so I have Lysian Shard and Dire Hound here. Lysian Shard means that this will become 12 attack, which just burns through a lot of his stuff. So I think I might play the Lysian Shard here, and I can either play Swamp Moss or Batter Hide. I think I'd rather play Swamp Moss, kill this. I've already played 2 Batter Hides, or I could go for the approach of just playing as many consistent guys as possible, especially considering I'm removing Lysian Shard from my deck. The other side of it is that he's leveled a Instigator. The problem is it dies to Cinderbound Barbarian if I don't shard it, so I actually think sharding it is better. And maybe playing Dire Hound as well. This is really difficult. Maybe Raw Fiend. This is annoying. This is actually pretty tricky. Alright, I'm definitely going with the Lysian Shard play. The main question is which creature do I play? If I go with the Cinderbound Barbarian logic, then I guess I'll play the Rot Fiend. Since I'm not playing, I'm trying to play around Cinderbound Barbarian, so there's no point playing into it at the same time.
The 12/8 takes away my Cinderbound Barbarian play, I think. Just makes it less good. So
block it, I guess.
Yeah, it's just it feels a little bit worse than full clearing something. So what I'll like to do is play Citadel Guard and Flamer Instigator here. The question is, do I clear the Batter Hide with Instigator and have an undamaged 12/13, or do I go for the value 12/1? I have to consider Ebonbound Warlord, but I have to consider that in either case. So I think what I'll do is, it is close here. I could also burn out, or I could also. I have a couple of other like weird plays that seem less good, but I'll avoid those for now. I'm gonna play this Citadel Guard here and then turn it on with Flamer's Instigator. And I know that this can get punished, but he still has to find the card to do it.
And yes, this is getting punished. Quite severely, actually. Alright, now he's just played a level 2 defender, so he's gonna have to block this Rot Fiend with something fairly substantial. He has to block it with 6 attack creature. I guess Cinderbound Barbarian, but better than putting it on the Warlord.
Instead of blocking that, what I'm going to do is Battle Brand it. That prevents me from taking some damage on my nice leveled defender creature that I also want to play. And what I have second to level is either leveling a Battle Brand, which is okay, or leveling this Alpha, which I think is what I'll prefer here. Leveling the Battle Brand is fine. I also have another alternative of leveling Battle Brand with in order to level Colossus, but I think I'll pass on that. And let me see, do I make this block? Yeah, it's still early in the player level, so I'm going to make this block. It can get punished. It can get punished with debuff or buff on the Warlord, but I don't think that's going to be too likely.
Now, what I can do here is I Battle Hide, Rot Fiend, and Seal. I think Seal is too late at this point. Rot Fiend level up is just pretty much the same strength as level 2 Seal. So, if I play Rot Fiend in front of that, I'll just get blocked. So what I'll do is I'll play Battle Hide, trade them, and then play Rot Fiend in front of it. If he wants a jetpack to trade, there's actually no point because debuffs are debuffs. But it also means I don't just get I don't just take 10 because of Instigator.
Interesting. So, I have Instigator and Crucible Colossus and Alpha. It's now a turn later. Does Crucible Colossus want to wake up immediately, or can it wait? I think I'll play Crucible Colossus Instigator. I'm passing on another level threat here, but I think this puts enough pressure on that it might carry me through.
Interesting. I've got Lurker, Dizzying Siphon. Dizzying Siphon is actually just completely brutal if I put it on the Rot Fiend, and it means that he has to block it with something fairly large. Actually, how large would it have to be? Is it worth just doing the buff? I think it is, and then I can minus what's in front of, yeah, I can minus the Colossus. Well, I can minus 1 Colossus and buff the Rot Fiend. There's 2 Colossi on the board. Pretty much anything I have kills the Instigator, so I'd rather just make a really, really awkward spot for him. I could have buffed it, but so it doesn't die to level 1 defenders, but the problem with doing that is that if he has a level 2 defender, then I lose my Swamp Moss as well. So it's just
I'm gonna battle brand that Rot Fiend and level Citadel Guard. This is the same. This is basically the same as leveling Citadel Guard there, but I get to level Battle Brand for free, and then I'll follow up with Cinder Colossus, which is now a monster.
Jeez.
And the 13 damage from Lurker is not so concerning.
Alright. So, he can Instigator. I mean, he may just want to play some threats next turn. So, I may just want to... I want to keep as many creatures on the board as possible, I think. And I could play Direhound. I think Invoker is better. No point in blocking the Colossus because it's just going to eat it for free. And taking 12 is not too bad when the deck hits you in the face with 30 each time.
Alright. Well, that's slightly annoying. I think what I'll do is, rather than allow him to get through with the Batter Hide, I'll clear this Lurker and still have 5 health on Colossus. I don't know how strong 5 health is here. Probably not that strong. It would be 6 health here, unless he buffs it past that. But I want the guaranteed kill on Batterhide. I don't want to mess around with the breakthrough damage. So we're going to
Understandable.
block the Colossus.
Okay, this turn is actually insane, I think. Let's see, 14, 26. But I can leave it in a place where he can enable it, but then it just immediately dies. So, Dizzying Siphon. Play Warlord. Yeah, I'd rather clear this.
Yeah.
Means that I set up a trade as well. Getting for 9 damage randomly, but it's pretty irrelevant at this point. I'm expecting something crazy.
Well, I do have a couple plays. I have Jetpack in hand, which I'm not so interested in, but is definitely an option. I have Cinderbound, which I can use in conjunction with either another Cinderbound or a Battlebrand to clear the Warlord. But that seems like a lot of effort to keep a Crucible Colossus alive that, is definitely going to die the next time you do anything. So
Yeah.
I think what I'd rather do is Battlebrand, I guess Battlebrand the Invoker, level Cinderbound,
Play Alpha.
play Alpha. I mean, it's not a great turn, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, I can agree with that. This Cinder Colossus appears to be in a weird lock, where it's like you can't really spend time to enable it because most of the defenders you're playing are better jetpack targets, but in this case it's actually better to block the Colossus. And the Shard gets it out of my deck, and it's like, get out of my deck! Yeah, and it also means that there's a 13-1 on the board, which is sweet.
So in order to capitalize on this situation, I think I'll take this 26 damage. Now, that's really risky because you can hit the Evanbound with some buff, but if I have to, I will...
Is this going
It's
full
quite-
aggro?
I mean, it's the question is do I clear the Evanbound Warlord to save myself a significant amount of damage, or do I... I don't know.
I think it's only worth going aggressive if you have level 3 defenders, personally, because like how much is, I guess, 12 damage worth in this case, comparable to what, 30 damage a hit. I'm not sure if it'd be worth it.
The thing is, I have Cinder Colossus next turn. It's only going to have 3 poison on it, so it'll be a 12-7, something like that. We'll level Glacial Crush in this case.
That crush.
Yep, that's going to come down and change everything. You'll see.
Alright, so this is when I just go double giant monsters. I finally got my level 3s. Like, a significant number of them at least.
Block with Citadel Guard. And second play, I guess it could be Cinderbound leaving a 3/3, or it could be Citadel Guard, putting the leveled card in the deck. This is a decision I frequently face on AT versus NU in a draft environment as well. This is a very familiar decision. It's one that is a judgment call during over the course of the match. I think in this case I'll level another Citadel Guard. I'm gonna hit battle. We'll block this Batterhide. It does open up damage opportunities for my opponent here, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, I actually just have like the actual I'm going to destroy your board plan.
Dire Hound.
Yeah, Dire. That's a really good turn. You do have Cinderbounds in your deck to deal with this, but I still dealt with a level 3.
Yeah, that's not an easy card to fully remove, so nicely done there. Now, I have a couple plays to respond to this. I have a Battle Brand, which almost certainly hits the board, and I have a Cinderbound, which I think is fine here, so I could get
them at this point. Get the level 3s in the deck.
I could get the Instigator 12 damage in before this Cinder Colossus expires, but I don't think that's necessary. So I think I'll go Battle Brand, target the Batterhide, and level the Alpha, and then just hit Cinderbound, have Cinderbound hit the board. That seems slightly worse than just playing the Alpha, but yeah, let's just play the Alpha in 4 and see if it gets punished with the Seal play. I don't think it will, but it might.
Oh, I don't have Seal.
You haven't leveled Seal.
At all. Didn't even see them.
Yeah. Well, that happens.
Yeah, a few too many times for my liking in this matchup personally, but whatever. So I've got a couple options here. I can Lizzie and Shard, I can also Direhound, both get it out of my deck. One of them shrinks it, so Jetpack is nowhere near as bad, and it also means that the card coming out of my deck turns into a creature, so I'd rather go for this. Shard might also be very useful later on.
So we'll just block here, and I think I'll just block in 3 as well. I could turn on that Citadel Guard, but I think I'll be able to do that in a following turn. And it might not survive.
Double Citadel Guard. Oh my god. Alright, so this is one of those turns where you're just like, why me?
PL4, you know, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, alright, so...
You can actually get no draw in PL4. You can have all level 1s.
I have to treat these as if they're going to go active. Because he has 6 ways of enabling them in his deck. It's like not possible for them to not be active. Like it's actually just not possible. So this is where not having Seal 3 in my deck is really hurting me. Because if I had Seal 3, I think this game would look very different.
Well, that's a trade in lane 1, probably. And let's see here. I do have Jetpack. I do have Crucible Colossus. The question is, how do I feel like handling that Rot Fiend?
That Rot Fiend.
I guess I can trade. The Citadel Guard's going to be enough for him to deal with, so I'm going to trade here. I'll actually
doesn't trade, debuff.
Theoretically win that match, but I'm skeptical a little bit. We'll move the Citadel Guard to 4.
Fair enough. Okay, so this is one of the more awkward situations I think I've been in today. And that is saying a lot. Alright, so I do have the Dizzy Siphon, which I vastly underestimated in this matchup. It's actually doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why Shimmerfang Serpent's a good underdraw in a buff deck. It just kills things way larger than itself.
So you've removed anything that I could Battle Brand except for my own creature. But since it's going to become active at the end of this turn, I'm not going to do that. So I will just Jetpack this. No, just play out Cinder Colossus, I suppose, because Jetpack won't do anything that other than a 3 attack.
It won't do anything substantial, that's for sure.
I guess it gives these creatures mobility, which could be actually relevant, but we'll put the leveled Cinder Colossus in the deck. There we go.
Now, I have Direhound or level 1 Warlord to pick from here. I think, considering I'm about to rank up, level 1 Warlord is just as good. And I'm a little low, but I have a compensation plan for that Crucible Colossus. Also known as a considerably larger Evanbound Warlord. That debuffs. Nice 4/6, level 3.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Alright, so I've got easy Citadel Guard play, but then where does the Crucible Colossus go? Does it go in 4? I think so. I think I'll put this Crucible Colossus in 4 and empty lane the Citadel Guard, and we'll have a second option next turn.
Well, this is when I'm like, please don't have an enabler. Actually, I can punish that pretty heavily. These bound cards, man. People underestimate these things. They're super, super, super good. I mean, one of the best ways of clearing this is with a Cinder Bound. That's the funny thing about this.
Please, I just win this combat. I guess I'll just win more combats. That's gonna be my plan. Is just win every combat.
Win more combats.
Win more combats. Yep. So
hype.
where do I'll put this one here. I'm not thinking through this fully. Let's look at the debuff here. -9/-9 puts the it puts a 27 to 18. Puts a Citadel Guard slightly out of range, but I think I don't even want to take damage on the Citadel Guard. So I'm gonna empty lane the Citadel Guard and block this with the Cinder Colossus, and we'll see what happens with that Shard on Invoker. Yeah. I heard you like level 3 defenders. I brought all.
As it would turn out, no, I don't.
Okay.
This is one of those super awkward plays. Alright, so I heard Swamp Moss is good at blocking these things.
Not bad.
I don't know how much damage I can afford to take right now, so I've got to go for the super exact seas Zillion Direhound here for the trade. This is a really weird game with no seals.
So what do I do? Because I want to get through for damage. If I want to get through for 20 damage, I can. If I want to get through for more than 20, I don't know if that's possible. I don't think so. Battlebrand is 9. Clears the Rotfiend, I suppose, because Cinder Colossus in theory will beat the Direhound, and then I can deal with that later. So I think this is Battlebrand, swing for 20, block Shardbound with the Instigator, and then level Cinder Colossus.
It's always a good thing to hear. Battlebrand, swing for 20.
Yeah.
Oh jeez. Somehow, incredibly, I run out of debuffs. This is why I prefer running the Shaper decks, because you just never run out of debuffs.
Yeah, as long as you get the Shapers.
I guess even then, because you're also running, like, Charnel Titan would have been amazing here.
Like, the Cinder Colossus just chilling on the board.
I played against a guy who was playing a deck like this. It wasn't the exact list, but it was similar. Similar enough to compare, at least. And he was playing a very, very similar list to this. And ended up beating him with a combination of Seals and Charnel Titans, because he didn't have a chance to overwrite his low attack guy. Okay, this is the I am dead to any enabler play. Do you have an enabler?
I don't. I have no enabler in hand. I do have Battlebrand, which doesn't clear Battlehide fully, but is worth considering, because it would, or I should say, it enables the trade instantly, which prevents a couple things from happening. Or I can just play out 2 alphas, which I guess is a play. We'll see if I get punished for this, but I don't think I will. I think this will be a fine block.
Possibly game ending.
Yeah. We'll see.
This is just not right. Oh, jeez.
It's quite the board.
I need 2 debuff guys to stay alive here, and I only have 1. So I'm dead to an enabler again, and I'm guessing you've got one because there's no way you hit luck. No way I hit luck twice in a row on 6 cards.
I think you will find you are correct.
Alright. Yeah, I am gonna say that this matchup it looks miserable for me, but in reality I think this is entirely dependent on Seal.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Because I mean, the main way of looking at this, and also random BM like burnout. I think we'll cut it at 2 games because we're running a bit long. These games that last game was really long.
Was it? Yeah, PL6? Wow.
Yeah, because like I just leveled all my bound guys, kept it going. So anyway, I guess we'll just go over the 2 decks quickly again, having played against each other, and we'll close it off with that. So we'll start with the AT deck. Were there any cards that felt kind of useless when you were actually playing in there?
Aranti Bolt felt pretty useless. Burnout seemed good in some spots, but possibly not as a 3 of. And Glacial Crush, again, tied to this Aranti Bolt idea. Those seem like cards not for this matchup. You can certainly get value out of them. As you saw, I got the Glacial Crush leveled for free at some point, but it wasn't something I was looking forward to leveling. And I have to imagine in another matchup, those are the cards that I'm most dependent on. So
it's for the mirror mostly. Yeah.
But otherwise, all the threats seemed good. The priority on Alpha, Colossus, Cinder, all 4 of those have relatively clear priorities. So at the moment, it seems like a very strong list.
Good to hear. I think, yeah, the burnout might be a bit excessive. I think Bolt is also a bit excessive. Even, like, because Glacial Crush, it's kind of cute with Bolt, but it's like a thing that happens once every 15 games.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's worth the card slot. Crush is for the mirror, obviously, so can't really touch that. Something I think you could probably consider is maybe cutting down to 1 Crush and running something a bit more techie like Barbarian. Not Barbarian, Hell the Destruction. Possibly. I don't know, maybe that if Tarsus comes back, because Tarsus is not banned anymore. It was actually banned in Unheroic for a bit.
Yep.
It's not banned anymore, so if Tarsus decks come back, then Hell the Destruction could be good instead of 3rd Burnout, maybe your Anti-Bolt. But besides that, I'm not really sure what else you could run in Hawaiian right now.
I had thought about the center lane a little bit. I can't remember what rarity Nexus Gunner is. I think rare. Nexus
Gunner's Heroic.
Oh, is it? Yeah, so...
All the buff ones for middle are Heroic. The only exception being Nexus Pilot, which I am actually surprised doesn't see as much play in Unheroic because it is absolutely huge.
Yeah, so it could be considered. The thing is, the power of choosing when to turn your defenders on is actually really nice because you have the jetpacks there to wake them up when you're stabilized against whatever your opponent's running. So it's kind of nice to have them sort of idling because they do clog the lane as well.
That's true. Something this deck is a little weak to, as I said earlier, was actually another NU deck, was the one I was running, which was Shapers and Charnel Titans. You would never think Charnel Titan was good against this list. That's the funny thing. Like, everything has huge amounts of attack. But no, as it turns out, you can punish them, like, because of Group Meal and also Shaper, you can actually just debuff one guy and keep pressure on, and then every time you play Charnel Titan, it is almost as big as their defenders. So if you want to combat this kind of deck and don't want to play the mirror with Glacial Crushes, I guess, I would recommend a Shaper list because this deck is very, very slow. So if you hit Shapers in 3, you can actually just stop him from attacking you. So that's my advice if you want to fight this kind of deck. I think the aggro deck is way too reliant on Seal for this matchup. It's really hard with 2 Seals.
Yeah, 2 Seals, it seems like that's where you were running into trouble finding the spot to level them, so possibly going up to 3 Seals might be...
I'll bring up the list. Some people did run 3. A lot of people ran this list. I picked this one because it was sort of it was the one I actually got to play against in the tournament.
Yeah.
So, it'd be cool to actually play it. I just brought up the list here. Couple things to go over. I think 3 Spirit Cleave is really excessive. Like 2 I can see. 1 is not enough in my opinion unless it's a super techie card. Like for me it's just a tech card. But as a 3-of, you're expecting to play this a lot. And that it feels a bit like playing 3 Glacial Crushes. Like, it's pretty much just the seal decks. The main problem is that I had a lot of hands where it was like a fifth or even 2/5 of the hand were taken up by underleveled Spirit Cleaves that were just literally useless.
Right, yeah. You don't want to draw that many of those.
Like, it's good when you get it, but it feels like running 3 Dreadbolts.
Would you consider dropping it from the list altogether?
I don't think so, because you need it for seal decks. I run a 1-of in Shapers, but that's because there's other outs to seal. I think in a list like this, where seal in the mirror match, I imagine just the game breaker, because whoever gets their seals down first on a batter hide usually wins.
Yeah.
So I would say the Spirit Cleave is necessary as a 2-of, although I think either I would remove 1 Spirit Cleave and either run 3 Seal or 3 Siphon. I was really impressed with Siphon in this list. I thought it wouldn't be as good because you're not focused on removal, but it's really powerful.
It made it very difficult on my side to plan, especially in that second game, what your board was going to look like the following turn.
Yeah. It's very, very, very good. So I think 3 Seals might be necessary. I think depending on the metagame, if everyone's playing this kind of NU list and also defenders, you need 3 Seals. If they're running other decks like the aggressive 10-piece ones or some of the Shaper-based lists or Tarsus or something, then Siphon is better. So I would balance that slot, and I would never run 3 Spirit Cleaves. I can't really think of a metagame, I guess, apart from 100% this deck. I guess AT defenders and this as the entire field, like no other differences. I guess it's good, but even then, Spirit Cleave is not amazing against defenders. It's good, but not brilliant. So I'm not sure about Spirit Cleave. The rest of the list felt really good though. The only card that felt a little awkward was actually Rot Fiend because I was running Swamp Moss. But I think that's a necessary evil because you kind of need that consistent threat.
Yeah, particularly when you've got to level these essentially super small level 1 cards throughout the early game. You don't want to be too far behind when you start PL2, but you've got the batter hides, you've got the sealed deepwood. If you play out too many of those, a very aggressive deck can actually take advantage of that and win early.
Yeah, that's one of the main, I would say the main weakness of this deck is actually group meal based decks. Anything running group meal is good versus this, and the reason for that is because you just get profitable trades over and over and over again, and then you put the person in a position where they can't play seal, and then you just win. So if you want to beat this kind of deck, either play defenders if he's not playing 3 seals, or play a group meal deck that's, I would say play a group meal deck that is a lot more Necrium focused, so that you can like, I imagine Gluttons and Rot Fiends and things are actually quite difficult to deal with. Charnel Titan, maybe an Ixion Marauder, any of the Necrium based decks, like, and when I say Necrium based, I mean like 80% Necrium. Like this is a very, very 50-50 list. The Necrium is just like tech cards for removal. But I think an actual, like almost pure Necrium deck would probably give this a lot of trouble. So, I mean, I do like both lists though, having just played those 2 games. The defender deck feels a bit like Stasis Warden. Yeah.
No, it's great. I mean, it does show at least 2 decks in the format that are highly competitive. The fact that you didn't get a seal early on shows one of the weaknesses of the deck. I think one of the weaknesses of the AT deck is finding your cards a little bit out of order. In this case, I got on the luckier side, but just in 2 games, you're not going to see all of the weaknesses of a given deck. So definitely try out both of these if you're interested in Unheroic. These are both strong lists.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There's a couple of weekly events going on, and there's also the Kill Cup coming up in a month, I want to say. Roughly a month? I think so. Yeah, the 18th of October. So yeah, almost exactly a month. Now that's based on Kale's Solforge ladder, the unofficial one, which I would highly recommend you go check out. As I said at the beginning, I'll put the link in the description. You get to play against other people for ladder rating. The main point is that ladder rating gives you actual prizes, and so do the tournaments. So on the qualifier on Saturday, I got top 4, so I got my Kale Cup qualifier position thing. But I also got 1300 gold, which it's kind of sweet. It's a decent way to make some gold every so often if you're confident in the particular format you're taking part in. Not just Unheroic, but there's also one for Standard, one for Unlegendary. Pretty diverse. The actual Kale Cup, though, is going to be absolutely crazy. It's
every format, right? All the popular formats.
Yeah, it's every format. There's I'll just give a basic structure now. We'll talk about it on lane 6, I should imagine, closer to the day. But basically, there are 4 sections to the tournament, each with 5 rounds. The first one, I think, is standard. You have to check this for me because I can't really move from the recording thing. But there's standard, unheroic, unlegendary, all take part in different tournaments. Then there is the top 16. Now the top 16 is one of the most confusing top 16s I think I've ever seen. The first round is unheroic, and the second round is unlegendary, and then semi-finals and finals are standard, which may cause an absolutely hilarious situation when all 4 players in the top 4 could actually just be unheroic players with like pretty small collections. That could happen, and if that happens, that'll be absolutely hilarious. But alas, I actually do like the idea. Multi-format tournaments is not something we really get ever, so yeah, having that is pretty sweet, I'd say.
Let's see, 1,000 gold for first place.
How much?
60,000.
How much is that roughly in money? Like, that's a lot.
That buys a lot of event tickets. That's what I know. That's a lot. You go infinite if you get that first place. Like,
yeah, 60,000, and each event ticket is 200 gold.
You won't have time if you convert all of that into tickets. You just won't have time to play out those games.
You get 300 tickets.
Yeah,
that's absolutely insane.
You can also, and this is something to consider, that's also enough gold to start like thinking about just buying whatever alt art comes up or card of the day as you become interested in it. So it actually puts quite a bit of flexibility.
I'm gonna just check in the store right now. The gold thing. 60,000, did you say?
Yeah, 60,000 for first, and actually second and third are quite generous. Third and fourth are quite generous as well. Second is 45,000, and third and fourth are both 30,000.
That is insane.
So those are pretty hefty prizes.
$200 in gold.
So it's a big tournament.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is way more than I thought it was.
Well, get hyped, guys. This is a good one to and you still, it's not too late to qualify. You still have a few events that you can.
Are there? I think that was the last chance qualifier on Saturday. I think it's all been solidified. The ladder standings are also done.
Win one of the weekly Kale Cup tournaments. I don't think you can. I think there are some. Maybe you can.
Maybe you have to look into that.
Yeah, check it out. If not this one, there's probably going to be another one. It seems like Stoneblade is on board with the Solforge ladder.
Yeah, I can guarantee both of us will be streaming our participation in the actual event.
Kale Cup.
That is a big tournament, and I'm actually amazed how much gold has been thrown at that by Stoneblade. It's one generous company. There's, what is that, like roughly, I want to say like $400 worth of gold in prize pool.
160, 170, 180, like 180,000 gold. So yeah, like $600.
That's insane. Like, you never know. If you win that tournament, then you can be stamped as the person who has got the most free stuff in Solforge history. So we'll put it that way. But anyway, so really looking forward to that event. We'll talk about it more on Lane 6, getting up to it, talk a bit about the individual formats. As for this series, I'm not really sure how we're going to do the scheduling on this. I'm not sure whether it's going to be a weekly thing or every so often or whenever. This is the first episode, so that obviously implies there will be a second one. But I'm not quite sure when that will be. If it's next week, then I guess it'll be a weekly thing. If it's 2 weeks from now, then I'll probably schedule it as every 2 weeks. We'll have to see at the time. But anyway, that's about it. So thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback for the series, put it in the comment section below. But as now, it's been Jotto and Hectares.
Yeah.
Weirdest outro ever. Signing off.